Hey folks, my name's Kevin and it's time for a little bit more knife nerdery. Today we're going to be taking a close look inside this. This is the Craig Brown Cortex. This is an incredibly well made and really cleverly designed knife. I've never seen inside one before, and this particular one also needs to be cleaned out. So I think this will be a pretty interesting video. It might run a little bit long, but I'm going to do my best to try and fast forward through some parts and shrink it down. Anyway, this should be fun, so let's go take a look. Okay, let's open this up, take a look inside, and clean it out a little bit. I'm mostly going to be just trying to see what's going on inside and do a light cleaning, because as you can kind of surmise from what's happening right now, this is not a knife that needs any tuning or tweaking. Look at this freaking action. But when you have a drop shutty knife like this, it's always fun to look inside and see how they're pulling that off. This isn't particularly sharp jimping, and so occasionally you can slide off it, but the key is to not do it wimpy. You want to engage fully. If you just press down fully and pull back, it works perfectly every single time. I'm going to do a slight cleaning because I am not the first owner. In fact, I'm probably the third or fourth at this point, and so there's a little bit of dust and gunk in here that I want to clean up. That way I can put my own dust and gunk in. It's part of the transfer of ownership. An important rite of passage. I also want to look at how they're pulling off specifically this pivot detail, everything around that. The detent ball is something they supposedly make in-house. Craig makes in-house, that's so I've heard. It's a ceramic detent ball. It's very wide, and I want to know if they have a ramp of some kind, because I don't see a ramp when I just look at it. I don't see an obvious indentation, but there's got to be something going on. The width of the detent ball means that it'll be encountering at a shallower slope. It won't be as steep of a thing that's trying to push up, but this is such incredibly minor effort to push over. There's got to be some kind of micro ramp, but there's definitely still a thunk at first. It takes almost no pressure to pull this up, but there's something. The other side of this action is that Craig describes it as, I think he calls it DRB, dual row bearing system, and I've not personally seen multi-row bearings outside of Shiro's, and so I'm sure people do it, but I'm not familiar enough with who's in that market to see what it's like. So it's going to be exciting to see how they're laid out. I see the ceramic bearings there sitting in Teflon cage, and so I'm hoping that these don't fall apart whenever when I open this up. But it's possible I'm going to be grabbing little tweezers and hunting for stuff. Anyway, let's get to it. This pivot here. This is just, these two are both just keeping the inlay / bolster on. It looks like it's just the pivot and this. Yeah. So let's give that a try. This looks to be a T8. As I understand it, everything is made in-house, like the hardware is made in-house. This is a very nice, crisp, deep hole. That looks like a T8. That's what I got out. Oof, yeah, that is really nice engagement with the tangs. And these also look like T8s. That's nice to see big T8 hardware. Is that my... Yep, okay. So let's start with this one. That came out easily enough. No thread locker on it. Oof, that is a very nice crisp screw. So if Craig is making these in-house like I've heard, nice job. And then let's get this pivot. Did not feel like there's any thread locker on that either. And like I said, I'm not the first owner, so either people haven't disassembled this or they've never put any thread locker on it when they put it back together, which is a good sign that it doesn't need it. That's some nice tight threading there. Okay. Now, does this just come apart? How easily? See, that's the thing. When you have really, really, really precisely milled things, it either falls apart instantly with zero effort, or you have to pry it super hard because everything's really, really tightly fit and it's all a compression fit. This came apart like nothing. So let's see what we've got going on here. Okay, that came off easily. That fell off. Okay, let's start taking a look. Where do we want to begin? I said I was interested in these bearings. So yeah, you can see that these do not all line up into a single circular path. That's actually kind of a fun like pentagon shape. And as a result, I can see why he calls that a dual row bearing system. And the reason why something like a dual row bearing system is significant is because by spreading out the bearings, you're increasing the width of the plane that is providing lateral support as it goes. And so you're having contact points both in this along this axis and along this axis, which is great. So that's fun. You definitely feel there's zero blade play in this knife, and that's definitely part of what's adding to that right there. Oh, look at all that gunk I need to clean out. Yeah, my gunk belongs there. Come on now. Wow, wait a minute. I hadn't noticed that yet. I'd commented in the unboxing video that the pathway that the inset internal stop pin travels in was large, but oh my god, it's not a raceway at all. It's this entire giant just milled out pocket here. I've never seen anyone do that before. If you know of another knife that does it this way, comment below. But wow, I've honestly never seen that. I'm used to there being like a smile-shaped channel cut out and not this entire big space here. Wow. Wow, that's nuts. So I'm going to put these back in just for a moment. Yeah, that just sits there in that corner. That's so cool. Okay. Actually, I should probably use... No, yeah, I'll do this. So as this goes through here, it just hits right there. That pin, which is press fit in, hits right there and ends in this corner. And at that point, you can see that the flipper tab rests in this groove here. Now, what I don't know is I'll just shake this out, is what this little divot is for. Like, that seems intentional, but there's no corresponding bump on the flipper tab here. So I don't know what the point of that would be. It's possible that it's either a side effect of how this is machined, or maybe it's intentional and necessary as part of how this is, maybe it's for alignment. Like, it could be like that it pops into place as part of his fixturing for his milling, which actually brings me to some other questions I have inside here that probably actually have the same answer. I'm noticing that there are two different threaded holes that don't go to anywhere. What are those for? Like this one, which appears to be the same size, obviously is what's keeping on this bolster. But these don't go to anything, and it'd be kind of odd placement for screws to go through, so I'm guessing they never were intended to go to anything, and my assumption is that these are used to attach this to a plate of some kind. And looking at this side, I see we have corresponding pieces here. So yeah, I'm gonna assume that these are for attaching this to a plate or something. I don't know. Same thing going on right there. This is the screw that this is the hole that this back screw went through, which means this right here doesn't align with that. Nope. I was going to say it's possible that he drilled this for the potential of a lefty, but no, nah. It does appear to be kind of in line with where this clip holding screw is, but the clip is held on by two. So let's take a look at that for a moment. I think that's what's happening. That seems right on the edge. Like the center of this screw is... No, that would fit. Yeah, so I'm assuming both of these are engaged for holding that. And you can see that he milled out this pocket around it so that they sit completely flush. And when you're looking down, they're completely invisible. This post appears to be press fit, or at least very tightly in. And this screw here is what's holding this whole thing onto that side. And I'm not sure. Yeah, so those are keeping that on. That's keeping that on. I don't have any particular interest or desire in taking this off because it's very tightly on there and I don't anticipate there being any crud under there or anything you need. I'm definitely looking forward to getting this crud out. Let's see what milling, because we have Blaine, Washington. That's where he makes this, up in the corner of the United States. What's on this side? Oh, I love that. Oh, that's very cute, because this knife is called the Cortex, so that's a brain. That's a very fun inside little memento that he hides in there. Same deal on this side. We've got our pentagon, and we've got our washer. Is that going to come out? Yep, that comes out easily enough. And this... Oh, that's interesting. Is this free spinning? It didn't spin on me, but I don't see anything that would prevent it from spinning. Maybe... Oh, that's what keeps me being free spinning? Obviously. That is not a circle. That's clever. That's nice. It gives you the impression of a circle because these arrows in the logo here visually make the thing look wider. So if this were a complete circle, it would still look elongated because of that shape distribution there. But it is, in fact, an oval and thus not able to spin. Okay, let's pop that back out because we can. Cool. Now, the other thing I wanted to look at, obviously, is this ball here. Let's see if I can zoom in. I've not tried that with this new app. Ooh, yeah, look at that. Oh, man, look at all that crud. Can't wait to get that out. Okay, but this ball, here, let's put something white behind it. Yeah, okay, so you can see that that is a very wide and flat ball, which means that when the blade tang encounters right here, it's not encountering a steep thing like the side of like a 90-degree angle almost at the side of a round ball. It's encountering more of an angle. I realized I'm zoomed in super far, so that's kind of silly looking. But I don't think that would be enough. So I'm assuming that there is going to be... Yep, there we are. A reasonably shallow detent ramp. Yeah, it's shallow enough that I couldn't even see it. But this, part of the reason why I couldn't see it is that, here, how do I zoom back out? Part of the reason I couldn't see it is because the detent ball engagement is pretty early, so it does not take long at all for you to hit this, which means there's not a lot of room where you can... It's a good thing, but there's not a lot of room where you can have the Lockbar onto the tang, but the detent ball not yet up onto the tang, and peer in between the two and see if there is a detent ramp. So you have limited visibility, and it's pretty shallow. But it definitely makes a difference. Like I said, it takes very little effort to push that up. Okay, so that's cool. I think that's everything. There's another screw threaded hole right there. Oh, I can't keep looking at this gunk. I gotta clean it, If you want to know any more about the tools I'm using in this video, you can check out nickshabazz.com/tools. I'm kidding, but it's also very true. I laughed when I looked at his tools video. It's I guess you could call it validating, because I'm an obsessive hyper shopper, and I have dug through all of the various kinds of bit drivers and things for this type of stuff, and so it was very satisfying when I watched his videos and realized that he had come to a lot of basically almost all of the exact same conclusions about what little gadget tools to buy. So that's fun, because I obviously respect the man's opinion, so it was nice seeing that he's using the same kind of stuff for the same kinds of purposes as me. I've been using isopropyl since like 2006, but you barely need any. He pours it everywhere, but whatever. Let's get a little bit going. Okay. Do a general pass. Okay. Definitely going to be using some Q-tips to get in there. Let's get these guys rolling around. Not a lot on these. It's good. I'm really glad that those are not just flying out. These are ceramic ball bearings, of course. Like I said, I've heard that he makes them himself, and that is wild, because what? Maybe they just mean that he's buying the ceramic balls and putting them in these fixtures. And that in of itself would be quite an accomplishment. Making good bearing casings is not trivial. But if he's actually making the bearings, that would be insane. If anyone knows for sure, please let me know. That'd be great to know. Oh, I just noticed. What is that hole? I don't know. There are several holes inside this knife that I do not... Oh my god. That's the detent hole? Really? I've never seen a detent hole be a hole all the way through. Okay. Sure, why not? I guess if you're drilling, just keep on drilling. Go all the way down. Why not? That is kind of wild to me, though. Okay, get all around here. Yeah, wow, I've never seen that. That's very funny to me. Okay. One thing I didn't point out earlier is I love this. I love when you can see milling work inside of a knife. It's often you see the milling lines inside of a knife because the internal milling doesn't need to be like a smooth, clean surface. They can leave subtle ridges, and it doesn't matter because you're not touching that part. But some makers turn that into decorative patterns inside. Like that haptic I have has like a full-on wave pattern inside, which is absolutely insane. But what you'll see here is that while this is not anything particularly fancy and decorative, it's very clean and nice, but more importantly, it's very clean. Like this is precision milling on the inside. Oh, yeah, that feels great. The other weird and interesting thing is that this is very subtle. Like this is not this Lockbar relief. These the whole point of a Lockbar relief is they're thinning the material here to make this bendier and more flexible. And so it's interesting to me that this is not very thinned out at all, and yet this pressure here is not terribly strong. I don't think I mentioned that earlier, but that's one of the other big reasons why this thing is a small. That's probably one of the biggest reasons, aside from how smooth the bearings are. Having look at all that gunk. Having a light tension on from the Lockbar is probably the biggest factor in terms of making a free fall knife versus a drop shutty knife, because as the blade is coming down, the lock bar is just pressing on it and adding all of the friction. So if you can get away with a light lock bar strength and still have a snappy action, there's other ways of tuning your detent. Then yeah, that's the most surefire way of reducing friction on that bar. The other ways, of course, are things that he's also doing here. Having a really wide detent ball means the top of the surface is flatter, and so it's less likely to be like digging a singular path through and encountering friction. It's just like a smoother surface. Yeah, I love the milling in here. It's beautiful. What is that hole? There's one on either side. It must just be for his rigging. That looks nice and clean. That looks nice and clean. Can I get in there? Let's see. Dip in. Running low on this. Like I said, I've had it for 15 years, and it takes such a small amount to get your job done that you don't go through it quickly, but I am finally running low. Getting all these nooks and crannies. That all looks pretty good. Another pass here. Some fresh juice. Yeah, that all looks good. Is there anything else I want to get into? I like to get into the center of these. Try to get up around this corner. There are other things you can use to clean, of course. Just isopropyl is really effective and really cheap. Some people will use Zippo lighter fluid. It actually works really, really well. Any kind of chemical solvent, especially camp stove fuel, things that are alcohol based, all tend to work. Okay, the last thing I want to do is then clean off my round bits. So yeah, and then for screws, these do not look dirty, but for screws I like to pinch it in my fingers and twist it around. Yeah. Oh, well, I said they don't look dirty, but that doesn't mean they aren't. They're just not gunky and there's not Loctite on them. Okay, pick a clean spot. That one's not bad at all, but nice and shiny and clean. Ooh, wow, that's like sticking on there. That is some very tight. Man, it's a good sign when it wants to stick to your bit driver or your bit, because it means that there's really deep engagement. There's nothing worse than really, really shallow. Well, it's not there's nothing worse, but don't like really shallow screws. Did I already get these? I don't remember if I did. They were not particularly dirty anyway. You can see the two lines, and there's your multi-rows. There's the first row of bearings, there's the second row of bearings. That obviously means we should put that side on the bearing side when we reassemble it, because that's the path it's already worn into these raceway washers. Okay, I think we are basically done. Oh no, I want to get more in these crevices. My Q-tip is falling apart though. I've got a new Q-tip right here. Yeah, that looks nice. Sometimes it also helps to have like a little toothpick around. I love toothpicks for this kind of stuff because they're, as wood, they're not going to scratch anything. So you can poke and pry and get into little tiny corners. It's also really good for stuff like this little area right here. That looks good. Probably have that same problem on the other side. Yeah, some. Oh, it's not very dirty though. And I don't know about you guys, but I really enjoy this. This kind of taking it apart, seeing all the little pieces, cleaning it out, that really scratches a particular itch for my brain. It is very satisfying for me. It's very pleasing in the sense of like, there's a calmness to it and you're putting stuff back in order and you're making things clean again, but it's also just a great chance to look at all of these fun details. Like, you see how the bit has to come up and gather closer and closer, and the paths, like, you know, there are different radiuses up here, but then they come together and form the same radius in the center. I love seeing the way that those crimp together down here. It just looks so cool. Any other bits I want to clean? No, this is probably good. Did I clean the lock face? No, because it's hiding back here. It's amazing how many little edges and corners there are in knives like this. Although that is the point. Yeah, look at that. Oh, I'm doing that off camera. Yeah, okay. We are done. Let's put our alcohol away and get out some lubrication. On stuff like this, I tend to use nano oil, continuing the theme of having nearly exactly the same tools as Shabazz. I like nano oil a lot. I've tried a couple other things. If you have something that you like dramatically better than nano oil, let me know. I use KPL sometimes too. Those are really the only ones I use at the moment. I've tried some other stuff in the past, but it's one of those things where, like, you reach a point where you are satisfied enough with what you have that you don't really feel a compelling reason to try something else. Nothing's drawing you. I don't have a problem I'm trying to solve. Tiny drop there. I find that that lubricant on the reverse side of the washer probably doesn't make any difference in action, but is just a great way of keeping that from sliding around. Because now there is, what is that called? Interstitial capillary tension? Something like that. I don't think I just made that up, but it's the tension between two surfaces when there is a liquid between them holding them together. Okay, and on this side, this does matter. Oof, that's more than I needed, but spin, spin. Beautiful. Now, what order to do this in? Oh, this is the pivot side. I didn't even think about that. Well, I should put this pivot through then. And it doesn't appear that there's any top or bottom. It just has to go this way. So I'll put that through. Okay. Good opportunity to put a little bit of oil on pivot itself. Okay, on this one, do I want to put that on now? Ooh, that slides right back out. When it's clean and not full of gunk, it's easy to slide out. There, all the way in. Just leave that down. If I'm going to put that on now, I guess I can do that. Oh no, if I'm going to do that, I want to put the oil right there. That's an interesting thing right there, is just how close those balls get to the edge here. In fact, it kind of looks, I wish I'd done this before, I wish I'd looked at this before the oil. It kind of looks like this outer row might even clip that. If it doesn't clip it, it's at least tremendously close. Cool, cool, cool. And then I guess I'm going to stack everything on top of that. Oh, this is an opportunity to look at that. I just said I wish I'd done it before the oil, and I haven't put oil on that part of it yet. Does that other line cross that? No, it might actually. It's like right on the edge. I'm talking about the outer of these two lines here and this hole right there. I don't know. Anyway, back to spreading my lube. Okay. Spin, 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 spin. I'm going to put this guy in here again, like I did with the other side. I'm really second guessing that comment earlier. Interstitial capillary suspension? That can't be right. Capillary action is when liquid like sucks into a tube naturally because of its tendency to want to stick together. And interstitial suspension is why you fold a paper towel in half when drying your hands, because the water is pulled into the two layers. Both of those have to do with the liquid being pulled in as opposed to the force it then applies on the surface. I don't know. I'm probably just... Okay, never mind. I'm just saying things now. Sure sounds like a fun big science word, don't it, though? Oh, and then... I still can't get over that being the detent hole. You know, honestly, I'm going to put... This is 10 weight. I'm going to pop out, because I have it right here, the 85 weight nano oil for this detent track. Put it right there. I like that it stays where you put it a little bit more. Just like it. Never really done any kind of exhaustive tests to see if it makes sense which kind of oil I'm putting in which spot. But I'm happy with the results I get. Those are all my pieces. So this, in theory, just sits down on here. Yeah, that's super easy. I say as it pops back out. There we are. Well, I'm holding it like this, so for the moment I'm going to put this in. There wasn't any Loctite in this, and it didn't really strike me as something that needs it. I'm not going to tighten this down all the way. I'm just going to get this in, holding together. And then... This also didn't have any Loctite. I'm going to just see if I can get away with that. Actually, no, I have Loctite. I have Loctite, so I might as well use it. I like to put Loctite into the... tube itself. I find that when I put it on the screw, it has a tendency to get kind of wound back up the screw and pushed out as you're winding it if you have threads this tight. That's not a problem on all screws, but when you have threads this tight, I find that it tends to just, get pushed back out the top. So I like to put it on a Q-tip, or not Q-tip, a whatever you call these, toothpick, and put it down into the hole itself. And then, okay, now I gotta tighten this up. It's nice and tight. Let's do this. Needs a little bit tightening here. Yeah, that was loose. And we are back to dead centered, but how tight did I make this? Oh no, that's still... Oh, I love knives like this. Can I tighten this more? Don't need to. That is locked down all the way. That is as tight as it needs to be. And we are dead centered, and... I love when knives are locked down all the way on the pivot and still just perfect. That is a testament to truly precision machining. Wow. Oh my god, I just looked. This is a 38-minute video. I can't justify that. Well, anyway, thank you for watching. This has been a fun journey inside the Cortex, and I'll try to go a little faster next time. Thanks, and have a nice day.